Welcome to episode 2 of Framing Reality. This is a podcast investigating storytelling, and particularly the paradox of storytelling. Is narrative and storytelling something that can liberate us, or does it ultimately trap us? Can it be used against us to control us, or can it actually give people a sense of agency and actually liberate them and create a motivation for us? And during the podcast, I'll be interviewing people from various backgrounds. And today in the studio, I have, let me get this right, Berta Beáta. Yeah. Bay is your first name, though. Yes.
Yeah.
It's always confusing in Hungarian.
It's always
is
confusing.
It Berta or is it Bea?
Yeah.
Right. And you started out in your professional life as a teacher in a secondary school, teaching kids in secondary schools. Then you moved on to teaching English as a foreign language and training foreign language teachers, and now split your time between that profession and obviously the bibliotherapy, which is a very interesting point, from the point of storytelling. I wanted to start, first of all, though, with your own life, because, everybody sees their lives in particularly as a story. And so why the desire to be a teacher? Because you're speaking to somebody who hates school. I hated nearly every single day and actually I had to leave school at 16. I wasn't allowed to carry on. So you went straight through the school system and then went off to Eger to train to be a teacher.
Yes.
And then went into teaching.
Yeah, but, it's not going to be a story like I'm coming from a traditional family where everybody wanted to be, nobody was teacher in there. So there were no teachers in my family. And I wanted to learn English and Hungarian, and that's all. And I didn't have any better ideas. I didn't want to be an economist, a lawyer, or anything. I wanted to learn these two subjects, and I had no other chance. So I went to a teacher's training college, and I don't know, I was spent there 3 years. Everything was very good. Those were the best years of my life, I could say. But when the end was coming, I was terrified. Oh my God, what I'm going to do? I don't want to be a teacher. What will happen to me? And there was this so-called practice when we had to teach for a month.
Yes.
And the plan was, or the intention of the school was that I should go to a primary school. But I didn't want to go to a primary school. And I called my secondary school in Sárospatak, where I studied, and I was begging for them that please let me teach secondary school children. And they said, okay, yes, they will do something and I can teach secondary school children. And that was beautiful. So actually those kinds of discussions that I could experience there, yeah, that was when I closed the door on the last day and I said, okay, I want to do this.
And why secondary? Because I would think it's the opposite. I mean, if I had to teach, I would think, okay, I'm going to deal with little kids because teenagers would just, I know what I was like as a teenager. But for you, that's what you just, that was better. Why was that better for you?
I feel like... I don't know. So when I'm among teenagers, I feel that I can say what I feel. And if they see that I'm honest, they will be honest as well. So I don't have to be, I don't know, more critical or more serious so I don't have to be different than I am. And if I'm not fake, they will be grateful for it. And we can agree on everything. So we can, I don't know, make compromise, we can say, and I think this is the gist of the thing. And it's easier to make compromise with them than with primary school teachers, students.
Students, right, yeah. Okay. And what about the, keeping their attention? I mean, how do you engage, especially to learn a foreign language? How do you engage teenagers?
I think enthusiasm helps a lot. So I'm quite an enthusiastic person. I really love English and Hungarian language and culture, and I like everything that is interesting for me. And I tend to find interesting things even in those fields where nothing seems to be interesting. And when I'm interested in something, I'm usually able to show this enthusiasm, and as I experience it, it takes kids with me.
And I think I think that's the enthusiasm is a kind of that's a natural sort of storyteller's ability, to bring enthusiasm to things. And I think you're right; it is infectious. What strikes me is the way, because if you can't capture a classroom's attention right at the beginning, it can be very, very difficult then to sort of bring and hold that attention. So how did you do it? Because I think in storytelling, there are certain techniques we know that you can put down and grab people's attention. But as a teacher, how did you do it? I mean, if you're teaching the future tense in English or something like that, what's your starting point to grab them and bring them in?
I think my situation was more difficult when I was teaching Hungarian. So in secondary schools where I was a teacher, everybody wanted to study English. I didn't have any problems with it. Okay, I just had to find a good topic, but I didn't have to do some great efforts to make them feel that they have to learn the sentences. So that wasn't problematic at all. I think teaching Hungarian literature and grammar, it was more difficult. So if I can get the question from this perspective, I don't know what was the situation where you learned, but in the Hungarian system, in primary, I think kids, when they are learning literature, they are not talking about poems, they are learning different kinds of analysis, and that's terrible. So by the time they come to the secondary school, they forget that anybody is interested in their opinion. And when during the first lessons, I tell them that, okay, you can forget that method you were using previously, because I don't care what Marikaneni or me think about the poem. I know what I think about the poem. That's not interesting for me. I'm interested in what you feel when you read this or what you think. And it was always a kind of revelation for them that, oh my God, anybody's interested in my opinion, I can say it. And they were telling their own stories, actually, and they put their personalities in it. And okay, during this, we have learned metaphors and everything because they wanted to take the school living exam. But I think this is the key. So I really was interested in them.
Right. So you're interested in them and trying to get them to connect through their own lives into that story.
That is what is interesting.
Stories of their lives, right? Yeah, I always get very angry when I hear, about how people are, you've got to learn a poem by heart and then you've got to stand and recite it. I'm terrified it's going to kill poetry for people. Okay. If we move on, I just did want to touch on the teachers' movement, let's say, because I did know a little bit about it. Looking back on that, what would you say? Would you say that's a successful story or a failure?
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that it wasn't a failure. I would say that we did what we had to do. I wouldn't do anything in a different way, really. If I think it over, I think it seriously that I would do the same, and it wasn't and isn't a failure. It's I think during the last 20 years, this was the most successful movement. It was going on very actively for more than 2 years, and we were working besides it. So and I think it's not dead even now. So we can say that it's in a way it's calmer, but I'm sure that something will happen.
Right, why do you view it as a success then? That's what I was curious about.
Because maybe this was the first time when a lot of teachers could stand up for their rights, really. So, if we are talking about that there are more than 130,000 teachers in Hungary, those some thousands, okay, maybe 10,000 maximum, doesn't mean too much. But if you say that it's more than we could experience earlier, I think it means a lot. So that's why I would say that it was a success. And I have a lot of, I can say, friends. I got to know them that time. We are in contact, and I know that they are feeling that, okay, we have done what we had to do. And I think this is the time when you can make a decision, you can decide about your life. And that's the success. I think.
Yeah. And I mean, there were clear actions that people could take out of that. And you were right. I mean, it was something that went on, for quite a long period of time. So what would you say was the important narrative that got people to engage with it?
That we could work together, parents, students, and teachers. And I think that was the most important part, that everybody felt that we are working for each other. So we were not working, we teachers were not working only for our salaries or something, but we had 9 points and only 1 point was the salary, and the others were about making school a better place. Yeah, if you see it from this point of view, we can call it a failure because only this 1 point, the salary was solved as much as it was. And the others are forgotten, we can say. But I don't think that they are forgotten. So that was what meant very much for me, that parents, students, and teachers could work together for the same aim. And we were really helping each other and cooperating.
And it is I like this very much, this idea of let's make school a better place.
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing that everybody can engage with and think on. And what do you think is this is the looking at it from the other side, what's the story from the other side? I mean, why do you think, and I wouldn't just say it's, here in Hungary, I would say similar things happen to the education system in the UK, in Germany. What's the story? Why uninvest? Why make schools, a bad place to be?
There are more theories, and I can believe in two, and I cannot choose one. But I would say that one idea is that government needs uneducated people, and that's all. So if you are sitting in a school 9 hours and you have to learn everything by heart, and that kind of information is on the Google, you could look it up there, and that's all. But nobody is interested in your opinion. I would say that this leads to a group of uneducated people. And that's one explanation. And the other one is maybe that reforming education would need 15 years. And governments don't have 15 years. And I know that it was so many years until we got to this point. But I think they simply didn't want to spend money and didn't want to make effort improving education or developing education, because on the long run, it takes money and the success comes 15 years later when somebody else is governing.
Right.
I would guess so.
Yeah, interesting. Now, if we, move to the bibliotherapy things, how does that work? Because I do want to sort of connect it up with some of the things you've been saying so far, but first I'd like to sort of get a perception of it.
Okay, so in bibliotherapy, we work with all kinds of texts. So not only stories, but mainly with poems. I work with lyrics, blog entries, and different texts written by the members, the group members. Of course, these are not literary pieces, or some of them are, but that's not the important point. And usually there is a topic that is in my mind. For example, expectations. Okay, let's see, it's a topic we often talk about. Or burnout, okay? And I find a text and that I feel it's gonna work, and I take it into the group. There are some previous tasks, kind of warm-up pictures to just to feel the topic and put the topic into the circle. And after that, we are reading the text, And I usually ask a question, and this question is almost always the same, that what is the point where you can connect to this text? And it can be a line, a word, it can be a story, and we will not talk about the poem or the lyrics or anything. We are talking about these feelings and how you can connect to the story. And we are going to talk about the topic. There are different perspectives. Usually there are, 6, 8, maximum 10 people in a group. And I think this is the most important one, these different perspectives, and that everybody can feel that they are not, I always say that in a group I can feel that I'm not an alien, that everybody has these kinds of feelings, and we can help each other by simply listening to each other.
Yeah, if I can just go back to, because you talk about connection. So you're choosing a text, and you must have experience. What do you see are the things that help people, the things that people connect to? If you can, what helps people go, this, what are the things in text that help people really connect?
In many cases, people simply don't have the words to express their feelings. And, you can see I'm quite talkative. I think you got it. And I don't really have problems of not finding the words. But for many people, it's really a problem that they would like to talk about their feelings, but they don't find the words. And it feels as if, I don't know, a miracle that, oh my God, somebody has written what I feel. So it helps in a way that, or in this way, that it gives you the words to express your feelings.
But if I can just ask, so for that, I would assume the text has to be about emotions, or it has to have emotion in it then?
Not necessarily. For example, if it's a description of a place.
Right.
And there is a sentence in it about that place, how it looked like or something. And you can recall memories that, oh my God, I felt, I was in a place like this, and how I felt, what my situation was, my circumstances, anything. So not necessarily about emotions.
Right. And why do you think, you said situation can lead to them going, oh yeah, I felt this, that's a place. But why are situations so powerful for people, do you think?
I don't know how your memory works, for example, but when I'm in a situation, many years later, it often happens to me that I cannot recall what happened exactly, but I can recall the feeling. So, for example, if I felt bad, I felt it in my stomach. Usually, I usually feel it in my stomach if I feel bad, and I can recall that feeling immediately. And after that, the situation comes up. And I can talk about the feelings, and then about the memories. And in some cases, I'm not sure whether these things really happened in a way or that. But I'm sure that the feeling was that, what I'm feeling now.
And so, but why do you think situation is so powerful then? What is it about the situation? Because I think these things generally will work both ways. You can have a feeling and you come up with a situation. You have a situation and it will create a feeling. I don't know if you know any science behind it. I was just curious what your perception is. Why do you think situation is such a strong driver for feeling? Even if it's something we haven't experienced ourselves, we don't know that, but somebody says a factory wall, and people go, oh.
Because I have a picture about myself, my personality, and it often happens that when I get into a situation, I react in a totally unexpected way. And that's the point where the situation is really important or powerful for me, because it has the ability or the potential to show my real self, or the real side of my personality.
And so what happens after that then, once you've sort of created this openness and people are stepping into this space? Where do you take them after that?
I think the most important elements are, or the most important moments of a session, if you can call it, when for example, a person starts to talk about their attitudes to, for example, let's say about looking forward to something. This happened some weeks ago in one of my groups. Somebody started to talk about that. Oh, it's so good that she can look forward to something. And it was evident for me that it's a really good feeling when you have something to look forward to. And some other group members said that, okay, it's a bad thing. It's not a good thing, because they had the idea that if I have to look forward to something, it can happen that it will never come and it will be a disappointment. The other one said that it's a bad thing because I feel that I have to wait for something and I cannot act immediately. And I think, when just going back to the question, that when there is this openness and there are different perspectives in the picture, you can meet different ways of solving a situation and different outcomes of a situation. And you can see yourself from a different perspective as well. So when, for example, some minutes ago you asked that about the teachers' movement, I feel it as a success or a failure. I think it depends on the personality as well. So maybe another member of the movement would say that it was a failure because we didn't get anything, we didn't get what we wanted. But I would say that, okay, it's the very same story, but from another perspective, it's a success. And it's the same with bibliotherapy things as well, that the very same story can be seen from different perspectives.
Right. And but this is really interesting, because what you're talking about is you're trying to get people to change, or these are people who would like to change somehow. And that the situation that is defined, that they start to imagine, gives them the space to sort of step in and think of it in a different way. And, very often that's something that, stories are used. They're used to help, populations or groups of people change when they don't want to. So what other things do you think are powerful motivators for change, or allow us to step in and, broaden our horizons, open our perceptions up? We have situations. What else can help that you use in the therapy? From literature, storytelling.
Yeah, there are. So apart from the situation, there are quite direct questions when I try to ask them how they were feeling in a situation and why. So when we are trying to dig deeper, and we are not talking about the situation, but about the feelings, that how did you feel? And why did you feel like that? And another version, when...
If that's, that's, in a way that could be a kind of psychological approach to it, rather than, how does that connect to the bibliotherapy, if you like, the literature side to it?
It is about, so bibliotherapy is talking about your feelings, actually. So there is the text, but it's just, I could say, a surface that can reflect your emotions. So you can use it to reflect a mirror thing again.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. And the gist of the whole thing is talking about your feelings, and I think which is even more important to recognize your feelings, because maybe that's the first point. So you asked that what other methods. So, for example, these kinds of questions, or creative writing, or actually it's not creative, it's expressive writing, if you want to be correct, because creative writing is a bit more. So expressive writing techniques can be really helpful. When you are writing about a topic, for example, I tell you that write about this topic, or start with this sentence from the text and write for 5 minutes, and don't think about what you are writing, just write for 5 minutes. You don't have to read it out. You don't have to use correct grammar, or you don't have to choose your words. Just try to write about their feelings, and after that you will see some tendencies that you are always writing about. If you try it, for example, write for 10 minutes every day. And after some days, you will see a tendency that, I'm always writing about this topic. It's always the same topic. And you can, so maybe it can help you to focus on your topics, what you are really interested in, what you have to work with.
Right. Okay. And how, if that was flipped around, how powerful is it for people to feel that their feelings have been recognized by somebody else? I'm not saying that you would ever say to somebody, okay, I now see you have these tendencies, but how do you think it makes people feel when someone from outside says, I think I know how you feel, and if I was in your position, this and this and this?
I think it's the greatest thing that one person can give to each other or the other one. So this kind of feeling, this kind of sympathy, that, when you meet somebody and you feel that, okay, I try to say what I want, but I don't really find the exact words. And it doesn't matter because the other one simply understands it. And it's such a good feeling when you don't have to explain everything because you know that the other one understands it.
And I would say that if it's done in a, let's say, in a positive way, if it's done in an authentic way, that probably can liberate people when somebody, let's say, stands up in front of them and says, look, I think I know how you're feeling, and this is the situation we're in, and this is what I think could be difficult for us. And because they're putting into words sometimes things that perhaps sometimes we find difficult to put into words.
Exactly. So what you say, that is liberating, and that feeling is very important when you meet the experience that you have the right for your own feelings. So, for example, if I'm a mother, you can say that it's a stereotype that I have to think always of my kids. Doesn't matter whether I'm tired or not. I have to be a very good mother.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's very helpful when you can say that, okay, just for one day, I don't want to be a mother. I just want to be myself. And if you say this, okay, no, how can you say that? Because you have your kids. And yeah, but it's so liberating when you can say it. And a lot of people will say that, yes, I know what you are talking about.
Right. So, but that's like giving yourself another title for a day and saying, I'm not a mother today.
Or you can say, I'm a mother, but I'm a mother who said that was enough. And now I have to relax for one day. Otherwise, I won't be able to be a proper mother. I want to be a good mother. And for this, I need a day when I think about myself and not about anything else. And thinking about my kids.
And is this what you would define as, writing your own narrative?
Yes, but what do you mean by writing your own narrative? Is it a positive, or is it a fake thing, or?
Well, no, I mean that from what I understand, that's part of the bibliotherapy as well. We can sort of use literature to sort of put our story together from the past. But what about moving forward?
Okay, I see.
So how does that work?
I see. Yeah. So, for example, if we can use this, I would like to be a good mother, but I would need a day off. And when you are liberated by the others and you are liberated by wording your feelings. And after that, you will have the point that, okay, it's such a good feeling that it is worth to work for it. And from now on, it will be part of my story that I sometimes will need a day off. And I think that's how it works, that I recognize on the bibliotherapy session what is important for me. And after that, I will try to incorporate it into my life. So maybe I don't rewrite my whole life. It would be quite difficult, I think, at this age. But I find the points where I can make better, and I find the points that I must change, because otherwise my life would ruin.
Your story wouldn't carry on.
Yeah.
The story would end.
Or it wouldn't be my story. It would be, I don't know, somebody else's story, I think. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's focus on the change, because change is what creates a sense of action.
Mm-hmm.
So would you say, well, that that's why it helps people, because when they recognize that change did happen or that they changed?
Yes. Because if they recognized changes around them or inside, it gives them a new perspective that, okay, this is a different situation. I don't say it's a new story, but so this is a different situation, and I have to forget those automatic actions that worked for many years, but maybe not anymore.
So how important do you think timing is for us, when we're considering, timing is very critical when you actually tell stories. It can make a story good or it can make a story bad. And it seems like you're talking about timing there in terms of actually being in your story and thinking, this is something I should be changing about my story. So giving yourself the time to do that.
I'm not sure that we understand the same by timing, but I would say that there are critical periods in people's lives. So it can, I don't know, at the age of 30, at the age of 40, or at big life changes. And there are these changes when timing can be, I don't know, ideal for writing a different narrative or finding some other solutions. I'm not sure whether you meant by
yes, it can be. I mean, I was thinking of something else, but that is also an element of timing, that you choose the right time, and that there are moments to act and there are moments when not to act,
or maybe not. Or maybe you are not the one who chooses the time, but the time chooses you. So when, for example, there are happenings in your life when you have to face that, okay, I have to do something in a different way. So this is the thing I mean by timing.
Right. When we start off, a lot of story, so a lot of classical storytelling starts, with a very positive situation, which then, becomes problematic. So one of the things I like to talk about is the film Jaws. If you ask people, what was the film Jaws about? They say a shark, how does it start? They say a shark eats something, but it doesn't start like that. It starts with people having a party on the beach. It's really nice. It's very, and that was what I suppose I was interested in. Not to negate the negative things that have happened to people, but why is it, do you encourage people to also, try and find those positive elements? How does that help them?
I try to make them see the positive things because they are true as well. So it's, if you see only the negative things, it's a fake story. And here is the word again, fake. And it's the same way fake as if you are seeing only the negative things and if you are seeing only the positive things. So the whole story and your whole life has positive and negative sides, and you have to accept it. And I think that's important, just to be able to see not only the negative things. I don't know, maybe it's a characteristic of Hungarian people, but really, so I feel that when you go to, I tell you an example, you go to an exam, and there are 6 questions. You can answer 4 of them perfectly. There is one that, okay, more or less, and there is one that not really. And in many cases, people will say that, okay, this was a total failure. I didn't know anything. And I told them, okay, let's take it from a mathematical perspective. Out of 6, you knew 4 perfectly. And there were only 2 answers, which one of them is, okay, not enough. The other one is half of it. Yeah. Why are you saying that you did nothing? You didn't know anything. And I think that's important, that, okay, it's take a look at it and see the real story. And it has good and bad sides, and be realistic, I would say. So not positive or negative or something, but be realistic. And that's it.
But that's great. That's really interesting, I think, and comes back to, well, you've used the word authentic many times, but am I, is this a real story I'm being told? If it's all just bad news or if it's all just good news, then it can't be real. So if it's balanced and we're told this is the good, this is the bad, and maybe that's why, actually in storytelling, especially at the very beginning, we mix those things together quite quickly to draw an audience in. And it's the same when people are thinking about their lives as well. You're trying to encourage them to say, look, there has to be, it can't all be bad.
Or imagine that you are not an actor in this story, but you are just a spectator. And what do you see? Okay, so maybe sometimes it helps if you can change perspective, or if you imagine that, okay, I'm staying a bit in the background and I try to look at my story from the background, and maybe I will see different things. So what felt to be a tragedy while I was in, from another perspective or from outside, it's okay, it's just maybe a bad thing, but maybe I can see the other elements or the other characters in the story.
And that's the concept of bringing the literature into it, that it allows people to step outside and gives them a perspective, broadens their perceptions.
And you can imagine yourself in the situation of those kinds of characters whose life you will never live. And maybe you would never want to, but maybe you would want to. But at least you have the chance to try it without having to change.
Without actually having to live it.
Yeah, without the risk. Without the risk to live it.
What a great way to end. Okay, thanks very much.
Okay,
That's
thanks
great.
so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much.
Thanks very much.